Hey, wonderful people. We appreciate all our followers on the Tea with Pius and Solomon. And we are so excited to welcome you to Season 2. And today we are talking about the principles of money. We are talking about something that really matters to many of you in your heart. So brace yourself for an exciting series and questions. I know they'll be coming, raining on us, but we are here for it and we are excited. Welcome to the tea.
Good to see you all. Thank you for coming on time. We like to keep time because time is money and money buys land. There you go. Just for that, you get a free piece of land somewhere.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Are you guys happy?
Yes.
You guys are looking lovely from where I'm seated here. And Solo and I are feeling the pressure. There is pressure. So let's keep rolling and have fun, eh? Thank you.
Pius, take it away. You know, money is that's your area of expertise. Even me, I come to you for money.
Both of us.
So please kick us off on that conversation. The topic we were asked to address is how money works, which is money principles, how to make it, spend it, that's my favorite part. Save it and invest it. So you want to kick us off, please?
Yeah, let me start it off. I'll start by making some observations. A lot of people, or majority of us, we chase money. And my observation is that the people who chase money, it tends to be very elusive to them. Has it ever struck you guys? But there are a few people who do things and money chases them. So the first thing that we need to address is really the mindset around money. Money follows value. So don't chase money. Work towards adding value. And I remember I was listening to Elon Musk some time ago, and he said something very profound. He said that money is a database, and it's a database for exchange. And he went ahead to explain it, and I'll put it in simple language. He said the way he sees money, it's a means to producing goods and services that solve problems for humanity. And it took me aback because majority of us, we see money as a means to pay our bills and for entertainment, right? So you see the perspective. So the first thing that we really need to address about principles of money is our mindset. How do we look at money? Do you chase money or do you chase after adding value? Choose to add value. If I add value to Solo, and Solo has given some amazing story there, I'll provoke him at some point. How he adds value. What does Goshen do? Sell land.
You guys better know.
So they sell land. But do you really sell land? What value do you really add? Is your value add selling land?
No, the land is a means to something else.
Yeah.
Which is primarily trust. That's, we actually worked on this in the office some time ago, and we boiled it down to trust. That's really what people buy from Goshen Acquisitions in Grand Acres. It's trust. Because everyone in show is selling land in Kenya today. There's no shortage of land sellers. So why would our customers buy from us? There's something else. It's trust. It's solving of all the other land ownership problems, like dealing with accessibility, utilities, security, and that sort of thing. So the land is simply the the conduit for our engagement with the client, who are really purchasing something else.
Exactly. So you really need, if you really want to make money, you need to define how you add value. All of you know Nabo, right? What business does Nabo do? I just want to hear. Yeah? Investment. Okay. We are in the business of making people wealthy. How does that sound? Who would want to be my customer? All of you. What I've just explained to you is the value that we add to people. We are not in the business of investing. Because if we invest and we don't make people wealthy, we are not adding value. Is something clicking? Yes. So first of all, for you to understand how to make money or how to position yourself so that you attract money, you need to define, what business am I in? What am I really good at? So if you're in IT and people ask you, you meet Solo, you want to provide services to him, and he's very keen to engage you, and he asks you, what do you do? I'm in IT. Do you really think Solo will remember you? So, one thing I'm going to challenge all of you, what business are you in? And that means you need to ask the question, what value do I add to others? I'm in the business of creating wealth for people. I'm in the business of making people wealthy. Every time I say that, people follow me. I want to give you my card. Can I call you? You know, so that's the first thing that I really wanted to address. Is that good? Solo, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. That's a money principle, right? It's really about the money. You know, I'll share this because we have Pastor Pius with us today. I will say it's one of the big reasons Pius and I are friends in the first place, because we share that value. I may not be able to articulate things as pastorally as he does, but I believe the exact same things. Someone used to point out, it took me a while to understand, and many of us have heard this thing that money is the root of all evil. I used to think it was, because it's what I was taught. Yeah, but then when you go back and read that scripture, what it actually says is the love of money is the root of all evil. So the money is not the problem. The money is neutral. Money doesn't care. You know, it's an energy. The love of money, you know, the chasing of the money is the root of all evil. I mean, that's a staggering statement. Of all, how many is all?
Like, guys, there are people in this city who can kill someone for 20,000 bob.
Yeah, because the love of money. And he said something else that was even more jarring to me. And at the risk of going viral again, you know, I will share it. And there was context. And this was in the church, a church I used to attend. He said that the most, or I should say it this way, and I'm paraphrasing, the people who are most after money are usually the poorest. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, so on the face of it, you can understand why. They're trying to get out of a situation, obviously. And who wouldn't, right? Nothing wrong with that. But they have chosen the wrong way to go about it. So rather than chase the money, his point was find solutions. And it ended with him making this statement. I adopted it as one of my principles. Speaking of financial or money principles, it's that money is a reward for solving problems. End of story. That's it. If you want money, solve problems for other people. The more people you solve problems for, the more money you will attract. You actually become a magnet for money. I know people today, some thankfully I can, you know, with a clean conscience say they are true friends of mine, and that's a grace of God. They beat money away. they have so much, they are attracting so much money, it's annoying. So there's a gentleman I met 7 years ago or so, probably in this very room. Acquaintance, we met through his girlfriend at the time, who was a regular attendee of weekly events in this room. And one day she brought this random guy with her, introduced us to him, and we had good rapport, and we'd meet randomly every so often. 4 or 5 years later, it turns out he is in the finance space, offshore finance, you know, that's Pius's world. And I pitched this gentleman for funding for my business, and it took forever, because sometimes people want to know you first. They want to know what you're about, your principles, your values. They need to feel like they trust you, because they're going to take a risk with their money, whether it's 5 shillings, whether it's $5 million. The journey is exactly the same. Okay? The only difference is sometimes it takes longer because of the quantum that is being risked, right? So if the larger the amount, the more they need to be comfortable, the more structure you need in place to remove trust. You know, it's funny, you think that the bigger the amounts, the more trust you need. It's actually the opposite. The bigger the amounts, the less they want to rely on trust. There need to be structures that remove trust, so that decisions are made whether or not you are in agreement. But that's a lesson for another day. These are things I've been learning ever since I met this gentleman. So at any rate, about 4 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we had received a substantial amount of money over a number of years in investments for some of our projects. At that time, I think it was up to about $2.5 million collectively in small tranches over time. I was always trying to get, you know, can we please have $5 million tranches at a time? Because, you know, then that means we can really solve our problems in our industry at scale. You know, every business owner dreams of this. Those are pennies to Pius. Don't let him fool you. At any rate, he had trusted us enough over a period of 4 years that he had risked that kind of capital in a number of projects, which is a blessing. How many of you have raised $2.5 million? I have age mates I would ask the same question, and there might be 2 or 3 hands up. So it's not a function of age or any of that. Obviously, you guys have more experience to stack up, and I pray that you learn how to do that now. If I did at your age, oh my God, things would be different. Okay, I'm 45 years old today. I am just learning how to do this thing at the appropriate scale. Okay, so 4 years, it's taken, well, it's like a struggle. $50,000 here, $100,000 there, cumulatively $2.5 million. So another friend calls me and says, Solomon, I'm starting a new venture. I need capital desperately, urgently. I should say, not desperately, urgently, because there was a timing issue. He needed $2 million like now. And he calls me, and I laughed. I was like, dude, yeah, I'm also trying to raise money. So if you find someone, ask me to come with you, we ask together. And he says, yeah, well, I understand, you know, just keep an eye out, please, you know, take it seriously. And I really respected this gentleman. It was actually a privilege for me to receive a call from him in the first place. Yeah, that, first of all, amen to that prayer that you think I have $2 million to give you. You have thought well of me. Number 2, he has trusted me with sensitive information. All in all, it was a good thing, but you can imagine the pressure. You don't want to disappoint someone you respect and look up to and that sort of thing. So I told him, okay, I'm gonna think about it. I'll pray about it, and I did. I wrote down on a sheet of paper everyone I could think of to call. Pius was on that list, and After 2 days, I crossed names out because I knew what these people need to invest that kind of money, and there just wasn't enough time, right? So the profile of investor had to be very specific. Now, the only investor I knew who had that kind of access to capital was the guy I have been receiving $50,000, 200, like it's slow. This guy needs $2 million now. And yet he's the only one with access to that kind of capital that I know at that point. So what I did is I asked him for his pitch deck, and I sent it to my friend, the investor. I said, listen, Buddy is doing this, check it out. I think it's a great idea. If I had money, I'd put it in, but he doesn't have time. And my friend says, fine, send me the thing. I send it to him. He looks it over, he calls me back and he says, yeah, I looked it over. I mean, it looks okay. I know nothing about that industry. I have never invested in that industry, so I don't even know what risks to look out for, right? I can't even make an assessment about whether or not I should put money in. And it's a lot of money he needs. They're like, yeah, I know. But let me have a chat with my committee and we'll see. So I figured he just didn't want to tell me no immediately. He wants to give me a slow letdown, so it doesn't hurt me too bad. A week later, he calls and he says, yeah, we discussed it. Listen, they said the same thing. We've never taken an exposure in this sort of business, but if you think it's a good idea and you can vouch for that guy's character, tell him it's a yes. Dude, I've been trying to get $2 million from you for... You're saying yes to a guy you've never even met. I've sent you a pitch deck, and you're saying, at my word, you will give him the money. And it happened.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. What was the lesson there for me? Number one, that this is personal to me, that a lot of times, and this is probably true for most of you, you just haven't considered it. A lot of times, anything good in your life was brought into your life not for you. It's for someone else. You're just the conduit. That's how God works, I have found in my life. I don't know about you, Pius, but everything God desires to do in our lives, He does through other people. There's always human beings involved. That's just the way He decided it's gonna work. Okay, so the sooner we get comfortable, I know we'd rather say, God, me, I don't wanna go talk to that guy. Just send your angels. See, you fed Elijah with the angels. You sent the angels to give Elijah bread and meat. You just send the angels with my tools, you know? That's not how God prefers to work. He prefers to work through other human beings. So a lot of times, strategic relationships, blessings, resources, abilities, even your own talents were not given to you for you. The reason you have a talent or a gift or ability is to serve others. Now, in the transaction of you serving others, you get compensated because you're solving problems with a skill that you've been gifted with, right? So that was the first realization for me, that I met this guy. At that point, it was 5 years. I met this guy 5 years ago. I thought it was for me to build a capital base for my business, but it actually turns out the reason I met this gentleman was because this guy was going to need money 5 years later, because he was able to raise the money in the blink of an eye with no, personal meeting at that point. Yes. And that was the second point for me. The solutions that my friend had created in his industry was solving a large-scale problem, a really big one. He was solving problems for millions of people at a time through technology. So that created an immediate opportunity base for the investor to consider that was significantly higher than the problems I'm solving in my business. Right? So, and we do solve a serious problem, but it's difficult to solve that problem at the scale that technology does, right? And that is why he was able to attract bigger capital faster, easier than my own experience. And that just reinforces the notion that money is a reward for solving problems. And I should say that at the time he called me, he had received commitments from other investors to the tune of $10 million. I even saw the letter of commitment from the other investors. It says, I don't want to take their money because it matters to me whose money I use. I want money from a specific kind of person, values, shared values, that type of thing. He was rejecting $10 million to ask a few people to help him get just 2. I don't need 10.
How many of you? He was not chasing money.
Right, he wasn't. Some of us like, what, 10, 20 kazi? Because it's on the table, right? So, and so that's a point I'm trying to make, that if you make it your focus to solve problems, money will chase you. You won't need to look for it. And therefore you avoid chasing money, which is what the point Pius was making. I hope that makes sense.
It does. And I think what is very consistent, we're here to talk about principles of money. There must be a problem that you're solving. How do you solve a problem? By adding value.
Thank you so much for watching and tuning in and being part of this conversation. You have been watching The Tea with Pius and Solomon. See you next time.